A true mystery story based on real events. Part 1. The Vanishing. March 8, 2024. The date would become infamous in aviation history, not because of what happened, but because of what didn't happen. Because on that day, Transglobal Airways Flight 227 simply ceased to exist. Captain Rebecca Martinez had been flying commercial aircraft for 17 years. At 42, she was one of the most experienced pilots in the Transglobal fleet, with over 15,000 flight hours and a perfect safety record. The Boeing 777 she commanded that morning was state-of-the-art, equipped with every modern navigation and communication system known to aviation. None of it mattered. Flight 227 departed Singapore's Changi Airport at 1:41 a.m. local time, bound for Beijing Capital International Airport. The flight plan called for a routine 6-hour journey over the South China Sea and mainland China. 239 passengers and crew were aboard. Business people returning from conferences, families going home, students, tourists, workers. Ordinary people on an ordinary flight. At 2:19 a.m., Captain Martinez made her last radio contact with Malaysian Air Traffic Control. "Good night, Malaysian 370. The transmission was calm, professional, unremarkable. 30 seconds later, Flight 227's transponder stopped transmitting. The aircraft vanished from civilian radar screens. Part 2. The investigation begins. When an aircraft goes silent, there's a protocol. Controllers try to re-establish contact. They check with neighboring sectors. They alert military radar installations. Within minutes, the machinery of international aviation safety kicks into motion. But Flight 227 wasn't just silent, it was gone. James Chen was having breakfast in his Beijing apartment when his phone rang. As the regional director for Transglobal Airways in Asia, he was used to early morning calls, but the voice on the other end, the company's operations manager, carried a tone he'd never heard before. "We have a situation. Flight 227 from Singapore. We've lost contact." James set down his coffee cup carefully. "How long?" 23 minutes. Malaysian ATC lost transponder signal at 0219. The aircraft hasn't responded to any attempts of communication. Weather? Perfect conditions. No distress call, nothing. It just stopped talking. James felt his stomach tighten. In modern aviation, aircraft don't just stop talking. They crash, they have emergencies, they declare Mayday. But they don't simply vanish without a word. "I'm heading to the office. Activate the emergency response team." The next hours became a blur of activity. Transglobal's crisis center in Beijing filled with executives, communication specialists, family liaison officers. Giant screens displayed flight data, weather patterns, search grids. Phones rang constantly. But there was no news. No wreckage, no oil slicks, no emergency beacon signals, nothing. By noon, the story had gone global. News networks worldwide carried the headline, "Commercial Aircraft Missing Over South China Sea." Social media exploded with speculation. Terrorism, mechanical failure, pilot error. Every possibility was discussed, analyzed, debated, except the impossible one, that the aircraft had simply ceased to exist. Part 3. The Search. The search for Flight 227 became the largest and most expensive aviation search operation in history. 10 countries contributed ships, aircraft, and personnel. Military vessels from China, Malaysia, Vietnam, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, and Australia crisscrossed the South China Sea. Sophisticated sonar equipment scanned the ocean floor. Satellites were repositioned to search for debris. Sarah Morrison, a satellite imaging analyst for the Australian Defence Force, was part of the team examining thousands of images captured in the hours after the disappearance. She sat in a darkened room in Canberra, studying her screens with burning eyes. "Anything?" her supervisor asked, bringing her another coffee. "Nothing that makes sense." Sarah zoomed in on an image captured by a French satellite at 2:15 a.m. This was 4 minutes before the transponder stopped transmitting. The aircraft is here, right on course, altitude 35,000 feet. She switched to the next image, captured at 2:25 a.m. by a Chinese satellite. And here, nothing. The aircraft should be visible, but there's nothing. Cloud cover? Clear skies, perfect visibility. The aircraft should be there, but it's not. Her supervisor leaned closer. "Show me the intermediate images." Sarah pulled up every satellite image captured in that 10-minute window from every available satellite. Together, they created a timeline. 2:15 a.m., aircraft visible, on course. 2:19 a.m., transponder stops transmitting. 2:21 a.m., aircraft still visible on satellite imagery, but position is wrong. 2:23 a.m., aircraft appears to be in two places simultaneously. 2:25 a.m., aircraft completely disappears from all satellite coverage. "That's impossible," her supervisor whispered. "I know, but the data doesn't lie." Sarah printed the images and compiled them into a report. 2 hours later, she was in a video conference with intelligence officials from 3 countries. They studied the satellite data in silence. Finally, one of them spoke. "This information is classified, top secret. These images cannot be released to the public or the media." "Why?" Sarah demanded. "Families are desperate for information. This could help." "Help how? By telling them their loved ones were in 2 places at once before vanishing completely? That defies the laws of physics. It would cause mass panic." "Then what do we tell them?" "Nothing. Continue the search. Hope we find wreckage. Hope we find answers." But deep down, everyone in that room knew whatever had happened to Flight 227 was beyond their understanding. Part 4. The Families. Li Wei sat in a hotel conference room in Kuala Lumpur with 200 other family members of the missing passengers. 3 weeks had passed since the disappearance. 3 weeks of waiting, crying, hoping, despairing. His wife, Chen Mei, had been on Flight 227. She was returning from a business trip. They'd spoken just hours before her flight. She told him she loved him, told him to kiss their daughter goodnight. Normal words, a normal goodbye. Now she was gone. The airline's representative stood at the front of the room, flanked by government officials and crisis counselors. Her face was drawn with exhaustion. "We want to update you on the search efforts. International teams have now searched over 4.6 million square kilometers of ocean. We've deployed the most advanced technology available. Submersible drones have scanned the ocean floor in the suspected crash zone to depths of 6,000 meters. "Have you found anything?" someone shouted. A long pause. "We have found several pieces of debris that we initially thought might be from the aircraft. However, none have been confirmed as belonging to Flight 227. The room erupted in angry voices. Li Wei stood up. 3 weeks! 3 weeks, and you have nothing? No wreckage, no bodies, no explanation? How can a modern aircraft simply disappear?" The officer's eyes were full of sympathy, but empty of answers. "I understand your frustration, Mr. Li. I assure you, we are doing everything." "Everything? If you were doing everything, you would have found something by now." An older woman near the front stood up, her voice shaking. "My son was supposed to get married next month. His fiancée sits at home not knowing if she's a bride or a widow. We deserve the truth." "We are committed to finding the truth," the official said. "We will not give up." But Li Wei could see it in their eyes. They were losing hope. The search was winding down. Soon they would declare the passengers dead, close the case, and move on. Except, how could they close a case with no evidence, no bodies, no wreckage? That night, Li Wei couldn't sleep. He sat in his hotel room, laptop open, researching. He joined online forums where other family members and aviation enthusiasts discussed theories. Some were ridiculous: alien abduction, time travel, government conspiracies. But others pointed to real mysteries. One post caught his attention. It was from a retired air traffic controller in Malaysia. "I was on duty that night. I can't say much publicly, but I will say this. The aircraft didn't just disappear from radar. For 17 minutes after the transponder stopped, military radar tracked it, and it wasn't flying toward Beijing anymore. It had turned, completely reversed course. Someone in that cockpit deliberately flew that plane in the opposite direction." Li Wei read the post 3 times. If this was true, then Flight 227 hadn't suffered a catastrophic failure. Someone had taken control. Someone had turned it around. But why, and where did it go? He started digging deeper, contacting other family members who had technical expertise. Together, they began piecing together fragments of information that official investigators either didn't have or weren't sharing. Part 5. The Breakthrough. Dr. Michael Foster was a mathematics at MIT who specialized in data analysis. He had no connection to Flight 227, but the mystery fascinated him. For 3 months, he'd been collecting every piece of publicly available data: satellite images, flight tracking data, ocean current models, debris drift patterns. He fed it all into a complex algorithm designed to reverse engineer the aircraft's flight path. At 2 a.m. on a June night, his computer finished processing. The results made no sense. According to his model, Flight 227 hadn't crashed in the South China Sea where everyone was searching. After turning around, it had flown southwest for hours. The last calculated position was in the southern Indian Ocean, thousands of miles from the search zone, the most remote place on Earth. Michael stared at his screen in disbelief. He ran the calculations again and again. Same result. He published his findings online. Within hours, the aviation community was in uproar. Some called him a genius, others called him a crackpot. But his mathematics were sound, peer-reviewed by other experts who confirmed his methodology was correct. The search shifted. Australian authorities deployed ships to the southern Indian Ocean. The search area was massive, bigger than the entire continent of Europe, and the ocean there was treacherous: storms, currents, depths of up to 4,000 meters. But 2 weeks after the search began in the new location, a French satellite spotted something: debris floating in the water. A ship diverted to investigate. They recovered a piece of aircraft wing, a flaperon, the technical term, and on it, barely visible, a serial number. It matched Flight 227. The wreckage had been found.
Part 6. The Recovery. The discovery of the flaperon was just the beginning. Over the following months, more debris washed up on shores across the Indian Ocean: Madagascar, Mozambique, South Africa, Reunion Island. Each piece was analyzed, cataloged, studied. But the main wreckage remained elusive. The deep ocean floor of the southern Indian Ocean was a graveyard that refused to give up its dead. Li Wei flew to Australia to be closer to the search operations. He stood on the deck of a search vessel, watching sonar equipment being deployed into the dark waters. The ship's captain, a gruff Australian named Jack Morrison, stood beside him. "We'll find it," Jack said. "Might take months, might take years, but we'll find it." "And then what?" Li Wei asked. "We'll know where it crashed, but we still won't know why." Jack had no answer for that. The search continued. Autonomous underwater vehicles scoured the ocean floor, their sonar creating detailed maps of the seabed. They found shipwrecks, volcanic formations, ancient geological features, but no aircraft. Then, on a cold morning in December, 9 months after the disappearance, a sonar operator named Emma Rodriguez noticed something on her screen. Contact, large metallic object, depth 3,800 meters. The control room erupted in activity. The AUV was redirected to investigate. Hours later, the first images came through. It was the fuselage of a Boeing 777. Flight 227 had been found. Part 7. The Black Boxes. Recovering wreckage from nearly 4,000 meters underwater was an engineering marvel. Specialized, remotely operated vehicles descended into the darkness, their lights illuminating the broken remains of Flight 227. The aircraft had hit the water at high speed, breaking apart on impact. The wreckage was scattered across a wide area of the ocean floor, but the priority was clear: find the black boxes. Every commercial aircraft carries two: the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. Together, they would tell the story of Flight 227's final hours. The search took 3 weeks. Finally, both recorders were located and brought to the surface. They were damaged but intact, their underwater locator beacons long dead. The recorders were flown to a laboratory in Canberra, Australia. A team of international investigators gathered to analyze the data. Li Wei and other family representatives were allowed to observe, though they wouldn't hear the recordings, not yet. The lead investigator was a French aviation expert named Pierre Dubois. He'd investigated dozens of crashes in his 30-year career, but he'd never seen anything like this. The flight data recorder shows normal operations until 2:19 a.m., he explained to the assembled team. All systems functioning correctly. Then, at exactly 2:19 and 43 seconds, someone in the cockpit disabled the transponder. Deliberately? An investigator asked. Absolutely. This wasn't a malfunction. Someone switched it off manually. What about the cockpit voice recorder? Pierre's expression darkened. That's where it gets strange. At 2:21 a.m., the CVR shows conversation between Captain Martinez and First Officer Zhang. They're discussing the flight plan, weather conditions, normal conversation. And then, at 2:22 a.m., there's a sound, like a click. Then silence, complete silence for the next 6 hours. 6 hours? The recorder should capture everything until impact. It does. 6 hours of silence, no voices, no alarms, no sounds at all. It's as if the microphones were turned off, or as if there was nothing to record. The room fell silent. Someone asked the question everyone was thinking. Could the pilots have done this deliberately? Pierre shook his head. Captain Martinez had 17 years of spotless service. First Officer Zhang, 12 years. No financial problems, no personal issues, no extremist affiliations. Nothing in their backgrounds suggests suicidal ideation or malicious intent. Then what happened? I don't know, but I know what the data shows. The aircraft flew in complete radio silence for over 6 hours. It flew west, then south, following a carefully calculated route. Someone was controlling it, and then when it ran out of fuel, it descended into the ocean. One of the family representatives stood up, a man named David Chen, whose daughter had been on the flight. You're saying someone deliberately flew 239 people into the ocean? I'm saying that's what the data suggests, but I don't know why. Nothing was stolen, no ransom demanded, no terrorist group claimed responsibility. If this was intentional, what was the motive? No one had an answer.
Part 8. The Theories. The official investigation report was released 14 months after the disappearance. Its conclusion, Flight 227 crashed in the southern Indian Ocean following a prolonged period of flight under unknown circumstances. The cause of the deviation from its planned route and subsequent crash cannot be determined with certainty. In other words, we don't know. The report satisfied no one. Family members demanded more investigation. Aviation experts pointed out inconsistencies. Governments blamed each other for intelligence failures, and the theories multiplied. Theory 1. Pilot suicide. Some investigators believed Captain Martinez had deliberately crashed the aircraft, but her family vehemently denied this. Her husband, her children, her friends all testified to her mental stability and love of life. Moreover, pilot suicide incidents typically involve quick descents, not 6-hour flights to remote locations. Theory 2. Hijacking. But by whom? No terrorist group claimed responsibility, no demands were made, and how did hijackers gain access to the cockpit? The door was reinforced, impossible to breach from the passenger cabin. Theory 3. Catastrophic fire. Perhaps an onboard fire incapacitated the crew and passengers, causing the pilots to turn back toward an airport before being overcome by smoke. But this didn't explain the deliberate route changes, the disabled communication systems, or the 6-hour flight duration. Theory 4. Mechanical failure. But the aircraft was new, well-maintained, with no history of problems, and mechanical failures don't explain deliberate course changes. Theory 5. Cyber attack. In an increasingly digital age, could someone have remotely hijacked the aircraft systems? Boeing insisted this was impossible, but computer security experts weren't so sure. Li Wei had become consumed by the mystery. He'd left his job, dedicating himself full-time to investigating his wife's disappearance. He traveled the world, interviewing aviation experts, radar operators, satellite analysts. He collected thousands of pages of documents, flight data, meteorological reports. One night, while reviewing radar data for the 100th time, he noticed something. A blip on Malaysian military radar that investigators had dismissed as spurious, but Li Wei saw a pattern. At 2:22 a.m., exactly when the cockpit voice recorder went silent, the radar showed 2 contacts. The aircraft was there, but so was something else, something small, fast, moving parallel to Flight 227 for exactly 14 seconds before disappearing. Li Wei called Dr. Foster, the mathematician who'd helped locate the crash site. "Look at this. What do you see?" Foster studied the data. "It looks like another aircraft, smaller, faster, military maybe." At 35,000 feet over the South China Sea at 2 a.m., what military exercises were happening that night? Foster did some research. None, at least none that were publicly acknowledged. "What if," Li Wei said slowly, "Flight 227 encountered something up there, something that wasn't supposed to be there?" "Like what?" "I don't know, but what if this whole mystery isn't about the aircraft at all? What if it's about what it saw, or what saw it?"
Part 9. The Whistleblower. 3 years after the disappearance, Li Wei received an anonymous email. "I know what happened to Flight 227. Meet me." The email included coordinates, a cafe in Kuala Lumpur. Li Wei flew to Malaysia immediately. He sat in the designated cafe for 3 hours before a man approached. Late 50s, gray hair, nervous eyes. "Mr. Li? I'm Colonel Rashid. I was Deputy Commander of Malaysian Air Defense that night." They moved to a private booth. Rashid looked around nervously before speaking. "What I'm about to tell you is classified. I could go to prison for this, but those families deserve the truth." "Tell me," Li Wei urged. At 2:22 a.m., our radar detected an unidentified aircraft entering Malaysian airspace, fast, high altitude. We scrambled 2 fighters to intercept. Li Wei's heart pounded. What was it? We don't know. By the time our fighters reached the coordinates, it was gone. But Flight 227 was there. Our fighters made visual contact. What did they see? Rashid swallowed hard. The aircraft was flying normally, but the pilots reported something strange. The cockpit windows were dark, no lights inside. At 2 a.m., there should have been cockpit lighting, but there was nothing. What happened then? Our fighters tried to make radio contact. No response. They followed Flight 227 for approximately 8 minutes. Then they received orders to break off and return to base. Why? The order came from high up, government level. They were told to stand down, return to base, and file no official report of the encounter. But why? If you saw the aircraft in trouble, why not force it to land? Rashid's hands trembled. Because we weren't the only ones watching. At 2:30 a.m., our radar detected 3 more unidentified aircraft, high altitude, high speed. They appeared from nowhere, stayed for exactly 2 minutes, then disappeared again. Our systems couldn't track them. They moved too fast, used technology we couldn't identify. What are you saying? I'm saying Flight 227 didn't just disappear, it was taken, and governments around the world know it, but they can't admit it because they don't understand what took it or why. Li Wei felt the world spinning. Taken by what? I don't know, but I know this. In my 30 years in air defense, I've never seen aircraft move like that. No human technology can do what I saw on those radar screens. Rashid stood up. I've told you what I know. What you do with this information is up to you. But be careful. People who ask too many questions about Flight 227 tend to have accidents. He left the cafe, leaving Li Wei alone with a truth more terrifying than any theory he'd considered.
Part 10. The Revelation. Li Wei spent the next 6 months verifying Rashid's story. He found other military personnel willing to talk off the record. Air traffic controllers, radar operators, satellite analysts. A picture emerged. Multiple governments had detected anomalous activity in the airspace around Flight 227 that night, but they'd coordinated a cover-up, agreeing to suppress the information to prevent public panic. But what had really happened? Li Wei traveled to Australia to meet with Sarah Morrison, the satellite analyst who'd seen the impossible images of Flight 227 appearing in 2 places simultaneously. She'd left government service and was now teaching at university. In her office, she pulled out files she'd kept hidden for 3 years. I need you to understand, she said. What I'm about to show you contradicts everything we know about physics, but the data is real. I've verified it 1,000 times. She opened a file containing satellite thermal imaging from the night of the disappearance. At 2:21 a.m., Flight 227 was here, she pointed to an image. Standard thermal signature for a 777 aircraft. At 2:22 a.m., the thermal signature changed. Changed how? It split. For 43 seconds, satellite imaging showed 2 identical thermal signatures in locations 12 miles apart. Then they merged back into one. Then, at 2:25 a.m., the signature began to decrease in intensity, not like the aircraft was descending or moving away, like it was fading. Fading? By 2:28 a.m., the thermal signature had decreased to 10% of its original intensity. The aircraft was still there, radar confirmed it, but it was barely visible on thermal imaging, like it was being masked.
Li Wei stared at the images. "This is impossible." "I know, but it happened." Sarah pulled out another image. "This is from a different satellite, different wavelength. Look at this." The image showed something Li Wei couldn't understand. Around Flight 227, there was a distortion, like heat waves on a highway, but in the sky. And within that distortion, shapes, multiple shapes, surrounding the aircraft. What am I looking at? I don't know. Neither does anyone else who's seen this. These images have been studied by physicists, engineers, aerospace experts. No one can explain them. Have you shown these to the official investigation? Sarah's laugh was bitter. I tried. I was told the images were corrupted data and to stop pursuing this line of inquiry. I was transferred to a different department. When I kept asking questions, I was encouraged to resign. Li Wei photographed every image, every document. He compiled everything into a massive digital archive: radar data, satellite imagery, witness statements, official reports, classified documents leaked by whistleblowers. And he published it online. The truth about Flight 227, what governments don't want you to know. The website went viral. Within days, it had millions of visitors. Mainstream media picked up the story. Government officials denied everything, but the evidence was there, available for anyone to examine. Former military personnel came forward, confirming parts of Li Wei's account. Scientists analyzed the satellite data and confirmed its authenticity. The mystery of Flight 227 became a global phenomenon. But still, no one could answer the fundamental question: what had happened to that aircraft?
Part 11. The Answer. 5 years after the disappearance, a cargo ship in the Indian Ocean found something floating in the water. At first, they thought it was a shipping container, but as they got closer, they realized it was something else. A titanium cylinder, approximately 10 feet long, completely sealed. On its surface, symbols. Not language, not any writing system known to humanity, just geometric patterns that seemed to shift when you looked at them too long. The cylinder was brought to an international research facility in Geneva. Scientists from 20 countries gathered to study it. They couldn't open it. Lasers didn't cut it. Diamond drills didn't scratch it. It was made of titanium, yes, but alloyed with elements that shouldn't exist in those combinations. For 3 months, the cylinder sat in the laboratory, defying every attempt at analysis. Then, on a quiet Tuesday morning, it opened. Not mechanically, there were no seams, no hinges. It simply separated, its surface becoming fluid and reforming into an open container. Inside was a black box, not the aircraft's flight recorder, something else. A perfect cube of material that absorbed all light, all electromagnetic radiation. When scientists touched it, it activated. The cube projected images, holograms so clear they seemed real, and what they showed made the scientists step back in shock. It showed Flight 227 from outside, as if filmed by a camera in the sky. The timestamp, 2:19 a.m., March 8, 2024. The aircraft flew peacefully through clear skies. Then, at 2:22 a.m., something appeared beside it, large, metallic, moving impossibly fast. The hologram showed it clearly, an object unlike any human aircraft, smooth, organic curves, no visible propulsion system, moving with precision that defied physics. The object paced Flight 227 for 40 seconds. Then it emitted a beam of blue-white light that enveloped the aircraft. Inside the cockpit, the hologram zoomed in. Captain Martinez and First Officer Zhang sat frozen.
not scared, not moving at all, like statues. The passengers, too, visible through the windows, all perfectly still. Time stop? Suspended animation? Something beyond human understanding. The aircraft continued flying, but now under control of the object beside it. For 6 hours, it flew south, guided by this impossible technology. Then, at 8:19 a.m., when Flight 227's fuel was nearly exhausted, the object released it. The aircraft descended into the ocean, still carrying its frozen passengers and crew. They never knew, never suffered. One moment they were flying to Beijing, the next they were gone. The hologram ended. The cube remained active for 17 minutes, displaying mathematical formulas, star charts, chemical diagrams, information beyond human science. Then it went dark and never activated again. Epilogue, 5 years later. The discovery of the cylinder and the cube changed everything. It was the first undeniable proof that humanity was not alone in the universe, that something else shared our reality, something with technology far beyond our own. Governments could no longer deny it. The truth about Flight 227 was released to the public. The hologram was shown on every news channel worldwide. The reaction was complicated. Some people found comfort in knowing their loved ones hadn't suffered. Others were terrified by the implications. Religious leaders debated the theological significance. Scientists rushed to understand the technology. But most people felt something simpler: wonder and grief. Li Wei stood at a memorial in Beijing, built to honor the passengers and crew of Flight 227. 239 names carved in stone, his wife's name among them. He'd spent 5 years searching for the truth. Now he had it, but it brought no peace, only more questions. Why had they taken Flight 227? Was it observation? Study? An accident? The cube had provided no answers to these questions, only evidence that it had happened. Li Wei placed flowers at his wife's name. He thought about their last conversation, her voice telling him she loved him. She'd been gone in an instant, taken by forces beyond human comprehension. As he stood there, he noticed something. In the sky above, moving impossibly fast, too fast for any human aircraft, just a blur of light, there and gone in a heartbeat. Watching? Observing? Li Wei didn't know, but he understood something now. Humanity existed in a universe far stranger than anyone had imagined. Flight 227 proved that. And somewhere in the vastness of space, or in dimensions humans couldn't perceive, the answer to what happened that night existed. But perhaps humans weren't meant to understand it, not yet. Li Wei touched his wife's name one last time, then walked away, carrying his grief and his knowledge like twin burdens. Behind him, the memorial stood silent, a monument to mystery, to loss, to the day humanity learned they were not alone. And above, the sky watched, silent, waiting, always watching.